Police officers of Reddit, what's the weirdest thing you've caught teenagers or kids doing that is illegal but you found hilarious? I've posted this before but I always find it hilarious cause my dad is a goofy fun guy. He's been a cop for almost 30 years now and he loves his job cause he gets to be out in the community and make a difference. The guy is gonna retire next month and he's stoked he gets to play Battlefield and go on vacation. Anyway, he gets a call one night about some teenagers vandalizing a park. Dispatch lets him know that it's a lady that calls 24/7 thinking she's the neighborhood watch. So as he cruises in towards this park he comes in all lights blacked out and watches from a distance. After a couple minutes of watching he realizes these people are playing hide and seek. They also look a little older than just teenagers. He gets out of a car and sneaks up to some of them hiding in a group behind some trees and bushes. My dad hunkers down behind them and one of them looks back and sees him. The kid freaks out and starts to run and my dad grabs him and says, "Dude, shut up or the other team will find us." The guys crack up cause now they realize my dad is down to win this game. He ends up playing hide and seek with this group of 21-year-olds for the next hour. The best part was about 6 months later. I'm having a Halloween shindig at my house and my dad stops by cause he wants to score some burgers off us while he's at work. He walks in and a guy at the party is like, "Holy shit, your dad is Officer Blank. He played hide and seek with us." While in college we got the police called on us for a violent crime in progress. When they pounded on our door we opened and they barged in. The neighbor reported hearing people yelling things like, "Shut up you little cunt, I'm going to rape your fucking 12-year-old ass," along with a girl screaming profanity. When the cops saw it was 3 guys and a girl drinking and playing Halo, the one just looks at the others in sheer disbelief. The cop starts to tell us they were called in for a rape in progress and tell us how we need to be more careful and whatnot because it could have ended badly. During this time my friend is still on the headset and the other guys we were playing with are wondering what the hell is going on and are hassling him, and then my friend says with the cop in the room, "We were apparently raping you fuckers so badly somebody had to call the cops." And the cops just can't hold it in and start cracking up. They did give us a noise warning but no citations. Not illegal but certainly weird. Got a noise complaint call where the neighbors inform dispatch the parents are out of town and suspect underage drinking and or possible drug use. These types of calls are the worst because you can almost guarantee someone is puking in the back of your car and you'll have to write a buttload of local ordinance paper. We roll up, throw the overheads on to scatter as many as possible and make a slow walk up to the front door. We play the nobody's home game for a while until one of the kids lets my partner in the back door. We subsequently find around 12 teenagers and what appears to be multiple bottles of rum and vodka as well as several baggies containing marijuana and some pills. Upon further inspection, we find the liquor bottles have been emptied and filled with water, the marijuana is actually oregano and parsley and the pills were just aspirin. They were having a pretend party to put on social media but the strongest thing in the room was a Red Bull. Edit, shit I forgot the best part, this was shortly after the movie Superbad came out and we had a pool going for the first guy to break up a party and use that line, "I assume you all have crack and guns on you." Or something similar. I said it and it was witnessed but the guys refused payment based on how pathetic of a party it was. Not illegal but here is my go-to story. I was called to a residence where the complainant stated that a child from down the street had brought an item to their house and that she was at a loss. Upon arrival I made contact with complainant and she relayed this story. I was washing dishes and I looked out the window where all the girls, neighborhood girls between 6 to 9 years old, were playing on the trampoline. They were using a large rubber penis-shaped device to hit each other. I ran out and grabbed it and turned it off. The kids had no clue what it was and in their defense it was purple with sparkles and other inlays. Kinda pretty if not for the fact it was a 10 inches rubber dildo. Well, I secured the item in an evidence bag and no crime having been committed I made a command decision to return it to the owner. I took it and rolled it up in said evidence bag in such a way it would unroll when held by the top. I then knocked on the dildo owner's door, and when she answered I snapped it down. Using my most curt cop voice I said, "Mom, your daughter secured your personal item and was accosting your neighbor's children with it about the face and neck. At this time your neighbor does not wish to pursue charges, however I will need you to sign this evidence form. It was very detailed description, so I can return your personal item." I have never seen someone show so much embarrassment and humiliation as that lady did. She could not even speak or look at me. The best part was this other lady that was deeper in the residence that kept insisting on knowing what was going on. I'm not a police officer, but a police officer approached me for this. Me and my high school GF at the time decided to spend all night hanging out and running around local parks and stuff, lots of fun. We ended with breakfast and I decided to drop her off after. I was driving this tiny Nissan pickup truck with a bench seat. She wanted to cuddle, so she didn't put on her seat belt and, instead, leaned across the seat and rested her head on my lap. Very sweet and cute. Minutes after leaving the parking lot, a police officer is following us and turns on his lights. She panics, sits up, and discreetly puts on her seatbelt. Once pulled over, the police officer, a young guy, comes up and looks in the window at her. "How old are you?" She says, 18, and he asks me to step out of the car. I think I'm about to get a big ticket for not wearing a seatbelt. Tells me, "I saw you driving kind of unsteady, and once I put on my lights, I see a young girl's head pop up through the cab window. So, I know why you're driving unsteady." I'm in shock at the implication. I was your age not too long ago, and I get it, you guys like each other a lot. She's a pretty girl, you're just having fun. What I'm concerned about is that she's the proper age, and that other old school officers would nail you for public indecency / reckless driving / something like that. So I want you to make sure, in the future, you're wearing protection, gotta stay safe, and concentrate on your driving when you're driving, gotta stay safe. Okay buddy? Go have an awesome day. I was speechless, especially because about 10 minutes before, she and I actually did have a quickie in the parking lot that absolutely would have gotten us fucked over. Too long didn't read, got pulled over for a caring talk about life and safe sex for BJ that didn't happen. My friend had a bunch of prop arms and legs in his car, college. He and his other friend were trespassing in the Northfield tunnels, Google it, and when they get back to the car there is a cop waiting. He asks to see in the trunk, so they open it. He jumps back a second, but quickly realizes the arms and legs are fake and he hasn't caught some serial killers, then gives them a very stern "shut the fuck up" look as he calls his partner from the car to come look at this, all shaky voiced, as he tells my friend and his friend to put their hands up, hella serious. The other cop comes over, looks in the trunk and freaks the fuck out, screams, and runs away back to the car. At which point the first cop bursts out laughing and tells my friends, "Ha ha. He was. Ha 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 ha, he was in Vietnam. Ha ha ha," and does a "get out of here" gesture and sends them on their way. So basically he used my friend to pull a super cruel practical joke on his partner. It wasn't illegal, but really suspicious. I was a cop in the Air Force. We had just gone into a high AFPCON threat level, and around 11 o'clock at night I saw 3 people in an empty dark field near some power lines with shovels and a garden hoe. My partner and I decided to stop them and see what was going on, because it didn't look like civil engineering or anyone that should be there at that hour. So we go up, see that they're all about 14 to 15 years old and they're all sweating and out of breath. We ask what they're digging for, and they say they weren't digging, which after looking around we didn't see any dug up dirt. So my partner asks what they're doing, and they hesitantly answer that they were LARPing. One of their dads shows up and scolds them, telling them how shady they look, apologizes to us, and we send them all back to the dad's house, which was about 100 yards away. I hold back my laughter until I get back to the car, where I have to explain to my partner what LARPing is and why I'm laughing. My brother is a cop and he told me one time he got a call around 9:30 in the morning for a suspicious person sitting in their car in a neighborhood. My bro goes up to him and asks what he's doing. Dude is waiting for his wife to leave for work so he can go back home and play WoW all day instead of go to his own job. My bro tells him to go wait somewhere else because he's freaking out the neighbors. Edit: to clarify a few things, the guy was parked in a different neighborhood than his own because he was hiding from his wife until she left the house, so nobody knew him, and it's obviously suspicious to be idling your car in front of some random house in a neighborhood while kids are going to school. It's not illegal, but he took the good advice to go wait somewhere else, preferably more public like a Walmart parking lot or something. Edit: also the dude was scared as shit that the cops were going to go tell his wife that he was hiding from her because he wanted to go back home and play video games. My brother of course doesn't give two shits about that, he just wanted the dude to go somewhere else so people would stop calling about it and causing him needless work. Edit: and yes, you can call the cops for any reason you want. It's a necessary but annoying part of a cop's job to go tell some oblivious man baby to wait somewhere else because they're disturbing the paranoid soccer mums who think they're going to nab their kids. I didn't catch them, but when I arrived at my first station, after graduating from the academy, I was talking to some of the guys who had been there a while. I asked if they knew my cousin, who lived in that patrol area. Turns out they did. They had a call a few years back, of some kids driving around, pulling up next to cars at traffic lights, and waving a huge dildo at the drivers, laughing hysterically, then driving off. They were pulled over, brought down to the station, and parents were notified. There was one old-timer who was a bit of dick, telling me that my cousin was a pervert, as were his friends, but the others guys said they thought it was hilarious when it happened, and they never charged the kids with anything. I still mess with my cousin about that when I see him. I'm not a cop, but I have a story where I made a cop laugh. It was after I got arrested for stealing alcohol from Target and I was handcuffed to a rail on the wall of this room while I was waiting to be processed. The cop was just passing through and asked the guy being detained across from me what he did. The other guy, who was around my age, said he was there for retail theft, but he stole a bunch of jeans. Then he turned to me and asked the same question. After I told him I was there for stealing alcohol, he looked down at my shoes, which were a pair of really beat-up Chucks, started laughing and said, "Man, you should have tried to steal a new pair of shoes, because those are fucked up." I couldn't help but laugh myself and he kept laughing to himself as he left the room. Not a police officer, but this story is going to fit. I was 17, just got my learner's permit which allowed me to drive alone but not after midnight or before 6 a.m., NJ older rules, and a bunch of friends. I went to Applebee's. I had a couple of airsoft guns in the trunk, about 3,000 plastic BBs, and we all decided it was a good idea to chase each other around in the parking lot with the guns. Stupidly, I took off the yellow tips. Waitress inside sees us, calls the cops. Cops show up, arrest us and ask us to sit on the curb. After about 7 minutes of seriousness, they take the guns and BBs, dump them in my trunk and back seat, laugh and leave after breaking the airsoft guns. They told us not to play with these in public parking lots and not to remove the orange/yellow tips. Those guys took our beers too. Now that I think about it, we could have been killed. I feel like a cop has a story about me and 2 other people. Here goes. I was 20 at the time, and at an outdoor party at a friend's. Late fall, 50 degrees or so, no leaves left on the trees. Roughly 50 to 60 people, mostly underage, most were drinking. My friend's parents lived in a nicer part of a bad area, and owned an inflatable bounce house business. They had everything set up. A bounce house, sumo suits, massive slide, all sorts of drunken fun shit. Around 1030 it's getting loud and the police show up. Someone yells "Cops! Run!" And everyone starts running. I decide to join the crowd, and end up hiding in a bush with 2 people. Then, Reality hits. I'm wearing a white hoodie, the guy next to me has on a neon yellow hoodie, and this girl has a fucking glow necklace on. The bush? Not a fucking leaf on it. Right then a cop walks up, starts laughing and asks, "Really guys?" and shines a flashlight directly on us. He instructs us to head back to the driveway with the other captives, and gives all of us a pretty hilarious speech. Seriously? We are the Flint Police Department. We have a million things better to do rather than chase down drunk minors. We had 2 murders just this week. We were just coming by to tell you to keep the noise down. Now we are pouring out all your beer and calling your parents. Now we're even. Didn't give out any tickets, just poured out all the beer and called everyone's parents. I got a call about 2 kids, teenagers, smoking weed in their parked truck down by the duck pond. You know the one. Anyways, I contacted them and they were very respectful and insisted on filming me on their cell phones while I spoke to them. I told them I wasn't interested in their weed, still illegal in my state, but I wanted to make sure they got home safe. That the driver was sober enough to operate the vehicle. I did basic FSDs on the driver and determined he was good to drive, all the while his buddy filming every movement and interaction, so I decided to have some fun. By the end of the evaluation I had the nervous driver doing the YMCA, sprinkler move and a janky-ass version of the robot before he finally realized what was happening. His buddy filming realized right away and his defensive lawyer cameraman posture dissolved into a stoned kid that was now having a good time again. The driver broke down and busted up laughing before shaking my hand and hopping back in his truck. The cameraman gave me a fist bump and just said thank you in a way that I took as wow, good to know some of you are human. It's annoying that we have to live with this stigma that gets portrayed by popular media, and quite frankly some of us deserve it. But it's still nice to know when you get through to someone, I mean really alter their perception and break down a barrier put up by others. Cops are here to make sure people don't hurt one another, that's it. If you're going to hurt someone else, even if it's just a strong possibility, I'm your worst enemy. But if you're just swaying from societal norms, that change like the weather, and being yourself, have at it man, you only live once. Okay, off soapbox. Oh, proofreading FSD equals field sobriety test. Not an officer, but a cool story, bro. Some buddies and I were launching rockets out of a soccer park that was empty at the time. Well, the nosy neighbor across the road called the cops and told them we were shooting off fireworks in broad daylight. Anyways, a cop shows up and starts to talk to us. We show him all of our rockets, our safety gear, and flight journals that a friend of mine was keeping. The cop goes back to his car and watches us launch a few rockets as we weren't breaking any laws. About 10 minutes later, his off-duty chief showed up in his personal vehicle and joined us in launching rockets. Later he told us that he had dozens of unfinished rockets and if we wanted were welcome to have them if we promised to invite him to the launch. About a year later, my friend, who kept the journals, had most of them complete. Now, these rockets were expensive rockets that were replicas of actual ones. The chief was happy to see them all in flight and told us that he'll make sure we weren't bothered in the future. Then he shot us. A smile. Not me but my uncle. He's a pretty young guy, 35? Something like that, and definitely even younger at heart, so he always tends to handle things in a pretty relaxed way. This was last year right after high school graduation. About 50 or so of the grads decided to celebrate by buying animal-themed onesies and parade around town in them. It got to be about 8 p.m. and everyone was obviously pretty tired, so they decided to take a rest outside of this shopping center around 15 minutes from my house. One of the store owners didn't like this too much, so he called 911 saying some kids were loitering outside of his store. This obviously isn't an emergency by most standards, so my uncle was the closest officer to the scene, so he was the only one who showed up. He thought it was the funniest thing of them to do, so he took a selfie with some of them, gave them a warning, and just told them to head out.